My parents always said they loved both of us equally. That's what they told everyone. That's what they probably even believed. But somehow I was always the invisible one. The backup daughter. The one they forgot to ask about. Until the day my face showed up on the evening news. And suddenly, for the first time in my life, I existed. But here's the thing. The news wasn't for something bad. It was the best moment of my entire life. And I never expected that one moment would change everything. My name is Ava. I'm 16. I live in a small town in North Carolina with my parents and my older sister, Madison. Madison is 18. She's beautiful, smart, athletic, and basically perfect. At least that's what everyone says. Including my parents. Growing up, I always felt like I was living in her shadow. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. It was just the reality. Madison got straight A's. I got A's and B's. Madison was captain of the volleyball team. I played too, but I sat on the bench most of the time. Madison had tons of friends. I had a few close ones. Madison was confident and outgoing. I was quiet and thoughtful. And my parents? They adored her. Every dinner conversation revolved around Madison's achievements. Her scholarship offers. Her college applications. Her boyfriend. Her plans. It wasn't like they ignored me completely. They'd ask how school was and I'd say fine, and that was it. They never pushed. Never dug deeper. Because Madison always had something more exciting to talk about. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself it was normal. That parents naturally gravitate toward the kid who shines brighter. But deep down, it hurt. A lot. When I got a good grade, my parents would say, "Nice job," and move on. When Madison got a good grade, there was a celebration. When I made the honor roll, they'd nod and smile. When Madison made the honor roll, they'd post about it on Facebook with paragraphs about how proud they were. Even at school, I couldn't escape it. Teachers would see my last name and immediately say, "Oh, you're Madison's sister. She was one of my best students." And I'd smile and nod even though inside I was screaming, "I'm not her. I'm me." But the moment that really broke me, it happened one night at dinner. I just found out I'd been accepted into a summer writing program. It was competitive. Only 20 students from across the state got in. I was so excited. I thought, finally, something that's just mine. Something they'll be proud of. I waited for the right moment to tell them. Madison was talking about her volleyball tournament. My parents were hanging on her every word. When she finally finished, I took a breath and said, "I have some good news too." My mom looked at me. "Oh, what's that, sweetie?" "I got into the state writing program," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's a really big deal. Only 20 kids got accepted." "That's great, honey," my dad said. Then he turned back to Madison. "So what time is your game on Saturday?" That was it. No questions. No celebration. Just, "That's great," and back to Madison. I felt my chest tighten. I excused myself and went to my room. I didn't cry. I was too numb to cry. I just sat on my bed and stared at the acceptance letter in my hands, wondering why it wasn't enough. Why I wasn't enough. After that night, something shifted in me. I stopped trying to impress them. What was the point? No matter what I did, Madison would always be the star. So I just existed. I went to school. I did my homework. I wrote in my journal. But I stopped sharing. I stopped hoping for validation. Because hoping hurt too much. I started spending more time alone. In my room writing stories. At the library reading. At the park just sitting and thinking. My friends noticed I was quieter, but they didn't push. And honestly, I was grateful. Because I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling without sounding bitter or jealous. The truth is, I wasn't jealous of Madison. Not really. I didn't want to be her. I just wanted to be seen. I wanted my parents to look at me the way they looked at her. With pride. With interest. With love that felt equal. But instead, I felt like a background character in my own family. Like I was just there to fill space. To make the family photos look complete. To be the other daughter people mentioned in passing. I started questioning everything about myself. Was I boring? Was I not trying hard enough? Was there something fundamentally wrong with me that made me less lovable than Madison? I knew those thoughts were irrational. But when you're ignored for long enough, you start to believe you deserve it. At school, I threw myself into my writing. It was the one thing that felt like mine. The one place where I could be honest and raw and nobody could take it away from me. My English teacher, Mrs. Lopez, noticed. She pulled me aside one day after class. "Ava, your writing is incredible," she said. "Have you ever thought about entering a competition?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe. There's a statewide youth journalism contest coming up," she said, handing me a flyer. "I think you should enter. You have a real voice. People need to hear it." I took the flyer home and stared at it for days. Part of me wanted to do it. But another part of me was terrified. What if I failed? What if I put myself out there and still nobody noticed? What if I proved once and for all that I was just average? But then I thought about that dinner. About the way my parents brushed off my acceptance letter like it was nothing. And I felt this surge of determination. Not to prove something to them, but to prove something to myself. That I was worth noticing. That I had something valuable to say. So I signed up. And I didn't tell anyone. The contest was about telling an untold story from your community. Something real. Something that mattered. I thought about it for weeks. What story could I tell that would actually mean something? And then I remembered Mrs. Chen. She was this elderly woman who lived 2 houses down from us. She'd been there my whole life, but I'd never really talked to her beyond a polite wave. One day I saw her sitting on her porch looking at old photographs and something told me to go talk to her. I walked over nervously. "Hi, Mrs. Chen. I'm Ava. I live down the street." She smiled warmly. "I know who you are, dear. I've watched you grow up." We started talking and she told me the most incredible story. She'd immigrated from China when she was 19, alone, with nothing but a suitcase and a dream. She'd worked 3 jobs to put herself through school. She'd faced discrimination, loneliness, and heartbreak. But she'd built a life. She'd become a teacher. She'd touched hundreds of lives. And yet nobody in our town knew her story. I asked if I could write about her for the contest. She teared up and said yes. So I spent the next month interviewing her, writing, rewriting, editing. I poured everything into that piece. Her story. Her resilience. Her quiet strength. And somewhere in there I found my own voice too. The night I submitted it, I felt this strange mix of pride and terror. I'd never put something so personal out into the world before. But it felt right. Felt true. Weeks went by. I didn't hear anything. I started to think maybe I hadn't even placed. And that was okay. At least I'd tried. At least I told a story that mattered. And then one day Mrs. Lopez called me into her classroom. She was grinning. "Ava, you won." I blinked. "What?" "You won first place. Out of over 500 entries. You won." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't process it. First place? Me? The invisible daughter? The backup? The one nobody noticed? "There's more," Mrs. Lopez said. "The local news wants to interview you. They're doing a segment on the contest winners and the stories you told. They'll be here tomorrow." My heart stopped. The news. My parents watched the news every single night. They'd see me. For the first time they'd actually see me. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Mrs. Lopez's words. I'd won. I'd actually won. And not just won but beat hundreds of other students. Students who probably had more confidence, more support, more belief in themselves than I did. But somehow I'd done it. The next day the news crew came to school. They set up cameras in the library and interviewed me about the contest, about Mrs. Chen's story, about why I chose to tell it. I was so nervous my hands were shaking. But once I started talking something clicked. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was passionate. I was honest. I spoke from the heart about how Mrs. Chen's story represented so many untold stories in our community. About how we often overlook the people right in front of us. About how everyone has a story worth telling. The reporter smiled at me. "You're a gifted storyteller, Ava. This piece is going to inspire a lot of people." When they finished filming, Mrs. Lopez hugged me. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. And I realized those were the words I'd been waiting to hear my whole life. That evening, the segment was supposed to air during the 6 o'clock news. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Madison. I just sat in my room waiting. My phone was on silent. My heart was racing. I kept thinking, what if they don't watch? What if they're too busy? What if even this isn't enough? At 6:15 I heard my mom yell from the living room. "Dave, Ava, come here. Now." My stomach dropped. I walked downstairs slowly, trying to prepare myself for whatever was about to happen. My dad was standing in front of the TV, his mouth open. Madison was sitting on the couch, staring at the screen. And my mom had her hand over her heart. On the TV there I was. In the library. Talking about Mrs. Chen. Talking about untold stories. Talking about community and empathy and why it matters to listen. The headline at the bottom of the screen read, "Local teen wins statewide journalism contest with powerful story." My parents turned to look at me. And for the first time in my life they looked at me like I was someone. Not Madison's little sister. Not the quiet one. But someone who mattered. "Why didn't you tell us?" my mom whispered. I shrugged, fighting back tears. "I didn't think you'd care." The silence that followed was deafening. My mom looked like I'd slapped her. My dad's face crumpled. Even Madison looked uncomfortable. "What do you mean you didn't think we'd care?" my dad asked quietly. I took a shaky breath. "'Cause you never do. I got into that writing program and you barely acknowledged it. I make honor roll every semester and you don't even notice. I've been trying my whole life to get you to see me and you never do. Because Madison is always there. Always better. Always more important." "Ava, that's not," my mom started. "Yes, it is," I said, my voice cracking. "Do you know what it's like to feel invisible in your own family? To work so hard and never be enough? I didn't tell you about the contest because I knew even if I won, you'd find a way to make it about Madison. Or you'd say, 'That's nice,' and move on like you always do." Tears were streaming down my face now. Years of bottled up pain pouring out all at once. I don't hate Madison. I don't even blame her. But you guys, you made me feel like I don't matter. Like I'm just here to take up space. My mom started crying. "Oh my God, Ava. I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "That's the problem," I said. "You had no idea. Because you never asked. You never looked." My dad walked over and pulled me into a hug. I tried to resist but he held on tight. You're right, he said, his voice thick with emotion. We've been terrible parents to you. And I'm so sorry. Madison stood up, tears in her eyes too. Ava, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I didn't know you felt that way. I never wanted to make you feel less than. You're amazing. You've always been amazing. I looked at all three of them. My family. The people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. And for the first time I saw guilt and realization in their eyes. They finally understood. They finally saw what they'd done. Or rather, what they hadn't done. I don't need you to be proud of me because I was on the news, I said quietly. I need you to be proud of me because I'm your daughter. Because I try hard. Because I'm kind and creative and I care about people. Not because I won something. We are proud of you, my mom said, crying harder. We always have been. We didn't show it. And that's on us. Not you. You've never been invisible, Ava. We were just blind. That night changed everything. We stayed up talking until almost midnight. Really talking. Not surface level, how was your day stuff. But deep, honest, painful conversations about how I'd felt for years. About the little moments that added up. About the comparisons. About the silence. My parents listened. Actually listened. They didn't make excuses. They didn't try to minimize my feelings. They just acknowledged that they'd failed me. And they promised to do better. Madison apologized too. She said she never realized the pedestal they'd put her on had pushed me down. She said she'd always looked up to me in ways I didn't know. That she wished she could write like me. That she envied how I could be alone and still be okay. That she thought I was braver than her because I didn't need constant validation. Hearing that shocked me. Because I'd spent so long thinking she had everything and I had nothing. But maybe we both felt inadequate in different ways. Maybe she felt pressure to be perfect and I felt pressure to just be seen. Over the next few weeks things slowly started to shift. My parents made more effort to ask about my day. To engage with my writing. To celebrate my small wins the way they'd always celebrated Madison's. It wasn't perfect. Old habits don't die overnight. But it was different. Better. One night at dinner my dad asked me about the next story I was working on. I told him about a project I was doing on youth homelessness in our area. He put down his fork and listened. Really listened. When I finished he said, I'm proud of you, Ava. For using your voice for something that matters. I smiled. A real smile. Thanks, Dad. Madison started asking me for writing advice. We'd sit in her room and I'd help her with her college essays. She'd tell me about her struggles with the pressure to be perfect. And we bonded in a way we never had before. Like actual sisters. Not competitors. Just two girls trying to figure out life. My mom framed the news article about my win and hung it in the hallway. Right next to Madison's volleyball trophy. Equal space. Equal importance. It was a small gesture but it meant everything. I wish I could say everything was perfect after that. That we became this flawless, emotionally healthy family overnight. But that's not how life works. There were still moments where I felt overlooked. Still times when Madison got more attention. But the difference was now I could speak up. Now I could say, hey, I need you to listen to this. And they would. And honestly, I realized something important through all of this. My worth was never tied to their attention. I'd spent so long waiting for them to validate me that I forgot to validate myself. But the truth is I was always enough. I was always talented. I was always valuable. I just needed to believe it. Winning that contest didn't make me special. It just showed me that I already was. That my voice mattered. That my stories mattered. That I mattered. With or without the news cameras. With or without my parents' approval. With or without anyone's recognition. I kept writing. I kept telling stories. Mrs. Chin and I became close friends. I visited her every week and she'd tell me more about her life. I ended up writing an entire book about her experiences which I'm hoping to publish someday. She calls me her storytelling granddaughter. And that means more to me than any award ever could. My relationship with my parents isn't perfect but it's real now. They make mistakes. I make mistakes. But we talk about it. We're honest. And that's all I ever really wanted. Not perfection. Just presence. Just to be seen. Madison and I are closer than we've ever been. She's at college now but we text every day. She sends me her essays to edit. I send her my stories to read. We support each other. We celebrate each other. And we've both learned that love isn't a competition. There's enough to go around. I'm still the quiet one. The thoughtful one. The writer. But I'm not invisible anymore. Not to my family. And more importantly not to myself. I see my own value now. I see my own strength. And that's the most powerful thing I could have ever learned. Sometimes I think about that night I saw myself on the news. How surreal it felt. How validated I felt. But the real validation didn't come from the cameras or the trophy or the recognition. It came from finally standing up and saying, I deserve to be seen. Meaning it. If you're reading this and you feel invisible, I want you to know something. You're not. You're so much more than you think you are. Your voice matters. Your story matters. You matter. Don't wait for someone else to see it. See it yourself. Believe it yourself. And the right people will follow. So here's my question for you. Have you ever felt like the invisible one? Like no matter what you did, it wasn't enough? If you have, drop a star emoji in the comments. Bez, I see you. And I want you to know you're not alone. Your story matters. And you deserve to be seen exactly as you are. Thank you for listening to mine. This story explores the deep pain of feeling overlooked in your own family, the courage it takes to pursue your passions without external validation, and the transformative realization that your worth isn't determined by how much attention others give you, but by how much you give yourself.